Devola. Devola starts off looking like your typical village bard, strumming away at the tavern and giving everyone those cozy acoustic vibes with her rendition of Song of the Ancients by the Fountain. She's got this whole performer thing going on while her twin sister, Popola, runs the library like the responsible bookworm she is. Together, they're basically the unofficial village leaders who keep an eye on YoRHa whenever Nier goes off on adventures. Most players know Devola as the quest giver extraordinaire, always having some task or errand that needs doing. She seems pretty straightforward at first, just a friendly musician looking out for everyone. But then the Shadow Lord's castle rolls around and everything gets flipped completely upside down. Turns out both sisters are actually ancient android observers working for Project Gestalt. They had been alive for thousands of years, which explains why they're so good at everything they do. Their real job involves some seriously heavy stuff: extracting data from Gestalt souls, creating new replicant bodies, and basically managing the whole cycle of death and rebirth that keeps their world functioning. The most mind-blowing part comes when you learn that the sealed verses everyone's been using actually originated from experiments conducted on both twins. When Grimoire Reese uses magic, he's literally borrowing just a tiny fraction of what Devola and Popola can actually do. Their magical capabilities make his powers look like party tricks in comparison. Unfortunately, things don't end well for the original twins. Devola meets her end after being defeated by Nier, dying in Popola's arms in what has to be one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the entire series. But the story doesn't stop there. Fast forward thousands of years to Nier Automata, and new models of both sisters show up at the resistance camp working as medics. At first, they just hang around in the background doing their thing, completely unapproachable. After Grun gets destroyed, they step up and give 2B a scanner to help her track down the missing 9S. They also run a pretty decent shop, selling high-level chips and some sweet weapons like the Type 3 sword and Type 3 blade. During Route C, the twins really start pulling their weight. They patch up 9S when he wakes up and again after he leaves the soul box. They got their hands full with various side quests too, keeping busy with all sorts of tasks around the camp. The real tragedy comes out later though. After the original Shadow Lord died, every Devola and Popola model got blamed for Project Gestalt's complete failure. The remaining androids were reprogrammed to feel constant crushing guilt about something they didn't even directly cause. Life at the resistance camp became pretty rough for them. They got treated like outcasts and always ended up with the worst, most back-breaking jobs nobody else wanted to do. When 9S needs to get inside the tower, both sisters step up in a major way. They create diversions to distract the machine enemies, putting themselves directly in harm's way. After 9S can't hack his way through, Popola takes her shot at opening the gate, but it means getting constantly electrocuted in the process. Meanwhile, Devola fights off waves of machines to protect both 9S and her suffering sister. Popola manages to crack the tower's defenses and get that gate open, but she's taking serious damage the whole time. Devola obliterates the machine she's been fighting and drags 9S through the opening, saying her final goodbyes as the gate starts sealing again. Once it closes completely, Popola takes what looks like a fatal shock, and the screen cuts to static. A2 finds both sisters later at the tower's entrance, badly wounded and barely hanging on. They ask her if they managed to accomplish something good, and A2 confirms they did. The twins let her know they successfully opened the tower for 9S, finally completing their mission. After the arc launches from the tower in ending D, both sisters succumb to their injuries and die together. The alternate universe anime adaptation, Nier Automata version 1.1a, puts a different spin on their final moments. Both twins get infected with a logic virus after taking down the machine lifeforms at the tower entrance. After Popola dies from her wounds, Devola asks A2 the same question about whether they did some good. A2 reassures her, then kills her as an act of mercy to prevent further suffering.
Gamer Supps is an energy and nootropic formula designed to be a healthier, cheaper, and more effective beverage over energy drinks for gamers or the modern anime weeb on the go. Its blend of essential vitamins, caffeine, and nootropics provide a consistent boost with no jitters and no crash. It has 0 sugar, less than 1 carb, and less than 1 calorie per serving, so it's keto and diabetic safe. I personally drink it all the time to be able to grind out these straight to the point and informative videos for you guys, and they'll likely be the only sponsor you'll ever see on this channel. So help the channel stay mostly sponsor free by clicking the link in our description, picking from the many tasty and uniquely named flavors on the website, and use our code ANIMEX at checkout to save 10% on your order. It would be a huge help for us. Also, pick yourself up a aesthetically interesting waifu cup while you're at it too. They're collectible. But anyway.
Popola. Popola lives her life surrounded by books and knowledge as the village librarian, creating this perfect contrast to her older twin sister Devola's musical lifestyle. While Devola entertains crowds with her performances, she prefers the quiet atmosphere of the library where she can dive deep into research and help villagers with their scholarly needs. Both sisters work together as unofficial leaders of their community, watching over YoRHa during Nier's many adventures. As the younger twin, she carries herself with this calm, scholarly demeanor that makes everyone feel comfortable approaching her for help. The library becomes her sanctuary, where she can organize information, assist with research, and maintain the knowledge that keeps their village functioning. She takes her responsibilities seriously, always ready to support both her sister and their community in whatever way she can. Everything changes dramatically when Devola gets killed during the confrontation at Shadowlord's castle. The loss hits her like a devastating blow that completely shatters her mental state. Grief consumes her so completely that she loses all sense of reason and becomes fixated on revenge against Nier and his companions. The pain of losing her sister transforms her from a gentle librarian into someone driven purely by anguish and rage. Her final confrontation becomes this intense magical battle where she unleashes everything she has against Nier's group. Emil steps forward to counter her devastating attack, resulting in a clash of magical forces that proves fatal for both of them. She dies from the backlash of her own powerful magic, while Emil sacrifices himself to protect everyone else. Though Emil manages to survive just as a floating head, the encounter shows just how destructive her grief-fueled magic really was. Like her sister, new android models of her appear thousands of years later in Nier Automata at the Resistance camp, working alongside a new Devola model as medics. As explained earlier, the alternate universe adaptation, Nier Automata version 1.1a, puts a different spin on her final moments thousands of years later. Unlike the game version, both she and Devola become infected with a logic virus after defeating the machine's lifeforms at the tower's entrance. She succumbs to her wounds first, leaving Devola to face A2 alone and ask whether they managed to accomplish something good. A2 reassures Devola before killing her as an act of mercy to prevent further suffering from the virus. YoRHa No. 2 Type B. YoRHa No. 2 Type B is one seriously impressive android warrior built specifically to take down the machine lifeforms that have basically invaded Earth while humanity hides away somewhere safe. She was right in the thick of things during the 14th Machine War, serving as an all-purpose battle unit with the automated YoRHa infantry. This playable android comes loaded with every weapon you could think of for getting up close and personal with enemies. Plus, she's got that handy pod support system for when she needs to hit targets from a distance. But her story gets way more complicated than just being another combat android. The commander gave her the designation 2B as a cover, but her real mission was far darker. She was actually assigned to keep an eye on one of the new scanner models during operations against the machines. The twist though, she had orders to eliminate 9S if he ever got too curious and started digging into the truth about Project YoRHa. Scanner units are naturally programmed to be curious, and 9S was no exception. Over hundreds of operations, she ended up having to kill 9S and wipe his memory over and over again. The worst part was she developed a genuine bond with him during all that time, making each execution something she came to absolutely despise. Her combat arsenal is incredibly diverse and deadly. Primary attacks are fast and light, perfect for building devastating combos, while heavy attacks pack more punch but sacrifice speed. She can throw in heavy attacks as finishers at any point during light combos, with moves changing based on equipped weapons. Aerial combat keeps her floating during combos, while heavy air attacks deliver brutal downward strikes. The pod system adds range capabilities. She can fire various weapons, with upgraded pods cycling through multiple phases and special effects. Pod programs charge up devastating attacks, with multiple pods creating even more powerful effects. Her mobility options are incredibly versatile. She can evade in any direction with invincible frames, perform double jumps, and use special mid-air moves like quick twirls for extra height or pod slingshot maneuvers for forward momentum. Perfect timing unlocks counterattacks. Evading just before impact triggers hologram copies for devastating counters, while timing attacks to deflect enemy weapons allows similar responses. She even got a self-destruct option dealing major damage equal to her current HP, though leaves her with 1 HP and temporarily disabled systems. The taunt function enrages enemies for 15 seconds, making them deal and receive more damage, shown by orange-red glowing heads. Finisher moves on down enemies execute randomly selected attack animations for solid damage. The main story throws her into intense situations right from the start. She's sent with a squadron of YoRHa units to the abandoned factory to eliminate a Goliath-class target, but ends up being the only survivor of the assault. That's where she meets up with her assigned scanner, 9S. They explore the factory together, but can't find their target until it springs to life outside the building. During the ensuing fight, 9S takes severe damage. She makes her way to the top of the briefly disabled Goliath and finds 9S mortally wounded, becoming briefly overcome with emotion trying to save him. He tells her to leave him and finish the mission, which she reluctantly does. After destroying the target, they reunite only to face 3 more Angel machines attacking them. With overwhelming odds against them, they're forced to detonate their black boxes to destroy the Goliaths. The aftermath reveals that her data was uploaded back to the bunker and transferred to a new body, ensuring her survival. But there wasn't enough bandwidth and time for 9S to do the same. He only managed to send her memories, with his own memories intact only up to the point before meeting her. Realizing that 9S has forgotten her yet again, she clenches her fist in frustration, showing just how much this cycle affects her. After 9S handles her boot sequence, they are sent to Earth for reconnaissance and to establish contact with the Resistance planet side. During their missions, they notice many machine lifeforms are docile, with some developing human traits. This visibly disturbs her, despite 9S insisting machines don't have real emotions. Their surface operations led them to witness the birth of Adam and Eve, 2 humanoid machines created by the Machine Network to discover humanity's secrets. They also encounter Pascal, a pacifistic machine leading to a village of like-minded machine lifeforms, and A2, a deserter android who used to be part of YoRHa years ago. During an operation against the massive machine Grun, 9S gets blasted away by an explosion and separated from her. She searches desperately for him, eventually tracking him to the copied city. Adam waits for her there, explaining that he created the city trying to understand humans. He reveals he captured 9S, impaling him in a crucifixion-like manner. Seeing this sends her into a rage as she vows to kill Adam. She succeeds in the battle that follows, leaving Adam to die in his own blood before freeing 9S and carrying him out of the collapsing city with a promise to send him home. After getting 9S's body sent back to the bunker, she meets with Pascal to check on other strange machine behaviors. She learns about another group of machines disconnected from the network who might be open to treaty discussions, so she travels with Pascal to the abandoned factory to meet them. The machines there have become a cult and turn aggressive on her and each other. With 9S helping by hacking other machines from the bunker, she manages to escape. Returning to the Resistance camp, she finds the local machines have gone berserk and start eating Resistance members. After 9S arrives in a flight unit to help dispatch a giant machine, she chases down Eve, whose grief for Adam is causing the machine's behavior. The battle is long and brutal, but she finally manages to stop the rampaging machines and kill Eve with a final sword thrust. Her story doesn't end there though. Multiple possible outcomes await depending on the path taken. In Ending A, after the battle with Eve, 9S becomes corrupted by the machine's logic virus while trying to disconnect Eve from the network. With no other choice as the corruption spreads through him, 9S asks her to kill him out of mercy, reassuring her that his backup data at the bunker can be uploaded into a new body. She protests, pointing out that while it's technically true, it comes at the cost of his personality and memories. But with no other option and the risk it poses to the bunker, she gives in and strangles 9S to death. Holding his corpse in her arms, she breaks down crying that her time with 9S always ends this way. Suddenly, she noticed machine pieces around the battlefield sending data transmissions, resonating with each other before she can destroy them. A large machine rises up, and 9S's voice emerges, explaining that his personality was left in the machine network when he became corrupted and he was able to regenerate thanks to it. She expresses relief that 9S survived and takes his offered hand. Ending B follows the same path as Ending A, except this time the Red Girls appear to witness her strangling 9S to death, adding an ominous presence to the tragic scene. The most devastating path comes through Ending C. With the machine network in chaos, the commander orders a full-scale invasion. During the battle, she's disabled by an EMP and saved by 9S, but her squad mates turn on her, infected by the logic virus. They detonate their black boxes again to escape the bunker, where the commander doesn't trust them and orders their detention. Other androids are revealed as infected too, forcing her to cut down allies. As they escape the exploding bunker, the commander reveals she's infected as well. Escaping to the surface in flight units, other YoRHa units attack them. She takes control of 9S's systems, sending him to safety while her unit gets shot down. Recording a final message, she discovers she's also infected. Stumbling through city ruins with her body shutting down, A2 saves her from surrounding troops. Knowing she is doomed with no backup, she gives her sword and memories to A2, asking her to take care of the future. A2 mercifully impales her as 9S arrives to witness her death. Her final order sends Pod 042 to assist A2. She later appears in 9S's journey through memories and machine-constructed copies. Before the final battle, A2 reveals her real designation as YoRHa No. 2 Type E, Executioner, explaining her role in eliminating curious androids and suggesting 9S subconsciously knew her true identity. Ending D follows the same path as ending C, except for the final choice between A2 and 9S. If 9S is chosen, he's almost beaten by A2 in combat until her voice distracts A2 and makes her hesitate in delivering the final blow. 9S seizes his chance and impales A2, but accidentally falls on her sword in the process, killing them both. Ending E represents something unprecedented in the Nier series, and only becomes available after you experience both ending C and D. After you get through routes D ending, Pod 042 and 153 start doing exactly what they're programmed to do, wiping out every single piece of data connected to Project YoRHa now that all remaining units are dead. But then something unexpected happens. The game asks if you want to check for data noise in the credit stream. If you say yes, Pod 042 suddenly puts the brakes on the whole deletion process and flat out refuses to continue. Turns out, these little floating AIs have developed their own free will and stubborn determination, basically becoming more human than some of the actual androids. The pods admit they all want androids to survive just as much as you do, which is a pretty big deal considering they're supposed to be emotionless support units following orders. The player then must do a final hacking game. This final route breaks the fourth wall in spectacular fashion, turning the credit sequence itself into a challenging shoot-'em-up section, where players must fight against the game's own ending credits. The sequence starts off manageable, but becomes increasingly brutal, with waves of enemies and obstacles that seem designed to be nearly impossible to overcome alone. The twist comes when the game begins asking other players around the world to offer their help. Real players who completed the sequence before can sacrifice their save data to assist others struggling with this final challenge. When you accept this help, the names of real players who deleted their save files to help strangers appear as support ships fighting alongside you. The collective effort of the community allow you to push through these seemingly impossible odds. At the end, the game turns the tables and asks if you're willing to sacrifice your own save data to help future players who will face this same challenge. The game makes it clear that choosing to help means permanently deleting all your progress, your completed quest, your collected weapons, and every moment you spent with 2B, 9S, and A2. Yet many players choose to make this sacrifice anyway, creating a chain of anonymous kindness that allows the story to continue for others. If you choose to sacrifice your save, Ending E provides a true conclusion where the pods, acting on their own initiative, work to reconstruct 2B, 9S, and A2 from their backed up data. The androids get a genuine second chance at life, free from the cycles of violence and betrayal that define their previous existence. After clearing the challenge, the scene shifts to show the pods buzzing around, hauling building materials to a rooftop where 2B and 9S are just lying there, probably taking in their second chance at existence. The camera slowly pulls back and tilts up to reveal A2 sitting on the edge of a different building nearby, with a dove that decided to hang out next to her. The anime adaptation of Nier Automata takes 2B's story and chops it into clear, mission-based episodes instead of the game's more fluid, interconnected structure. Each episode zooms in on key events, like the songstress in the amusement park, the peaceful vibes in Pascal's village, and the dusty drama in the desert. Because of this format, her journey feels more like a collection of episodes rather than one long arc. It also gives more screen time to Resistance members, especially Lily, who's shown as the big boss of the Resistance, and Jackass, who pops up often with her usual chaos energy. These characters get more meaningful moments with 2B compared to their smaller roles in the game. One major shift is how the anime handles 2B's real identity as a 2E model, aka an executioner. The game holds this back until much later, but the anime drops the bomb early in episode 13, where we can actually see her kill 9S. It reframes her role from the late game twist into a repeating cycle that defines her character from the start. The anime also adds extra scenes that weren't in the game, like 2B wearing a Lunateer flower or opening up a bit more about the emotional weight of having to kill 9S over and over. These small moments really add to her emotional depth. Some story beats are rearranged too. For example, 2B fights Adam in a machine-made human city, and Eve dies during the same confrontation. In the game, Eve's death wraps up Route A as a separate event entirely. Where the game gives you multiple endings from A to E and different possibilities for 2B, the anime goes for a simple, clean finale. A2 mercy kills 2B to stop her infection, and the pods later rebuild all 3 androids, giving a sense of closure that the game leaves more open-ended. Finally, the anime shows a full-scale coordinated battle between YoRHa and the Resistance before the virus hits. The game treats this phase more like scattered chaos after Adam and Eve are dealt with. So overall, the anime reshapes the story to spotlight 2B's internal struggle and connection with others in a more structured way. YoRHa number 9 Type S. YoRHa number 9 Type S is a playable scanner-type android who served during the 14th Machine War, but calling him just a scanner doesn't do justice to what he's capable of. While he's got attack functions like other androids, his real specialty lies in investigation and intelligence gathering. He's a member of the YoRHa Automated Infantry Unit, but his true talent shines through his incredible hacking abilities that can turn the tide of any battle. He was born on January 30th, 11,942, deployed at 4:25 AM bunker time as a newly manufactured scanner model. His story gets complicated right from the start though. After detonating black boxes with 2B, both their data gets uploaded to the bunker for transfer to new bodies, but bandwidth and time constraints force a choice. He sends 2B's memories back instead of his own, causing him to forget everything about their previous battle together. The twist is that he might actually be pretending to forget, as his memories surface later during the Soul Box boss fight, showing images of his time with 2B before the Black Box detonation. He's next seen handling 2B's boot sequence, which serves as the game's introduction to settings. Put in charge of her maintenance, he becomes her partner and follows her on missions to Earth. His combat style is unique among YoRHa units. Primary attacks work similarly to other androids. Fast, light strikes with high combo potential that depend on equipped weapons. Holding and releasing light attacks deliver a powerful single strike, while jumping then immediately pressing light attack performs a launcher move. Heavy attacks get interesting though, since his heavy attack button is replaced by the hack function. He performs heavy combos by tapping evade then repeatedly pressing light attack. Hold evade too long and you'll get the post-evade attack instead. Aerial combat keeps him airborne during combos, with all air combos ending in heavy downward strikes. The hack function is where he truly excels. Holding the hack button with an enemy or electronically locked object in range starts the hacking process. A circular indicator fills as the target gets hacked, eventually triggering a minigame where you control a triangular ship and destroy the enemy's program cores before a timer expires, while taking fewer than 3 hits. Higher levels add force field protecting the cores, that lower when other black units are defeated. Failing the hack deals damage to him, but success opens up multiple possibilities. If enemies were in combat when hacked, they detonate, dealing percentage-based damage to themselves and nearby enemies calculated from the level difference. Hacking kills give bonus XP over regular kills, with each enemy having set hack XP amounts. If enemies weren't aware of him or were peaceful, a menu appears with options to detonate, subjugate, or remote control them. Subjugation turns them against other enemies temporarily before exploding, while remote control lets them directly pilot the target. Controlling hijacked robots open up tactical possibilities. Enemy robots have 3 attacks using light attack, pod shot, and pod program buttons. Most can only evade with basic backward jumps and can attack while jumping, though some have jump attacks. They can't sprint either. Flying enemies get pushed upward briefly with jump and move by gliding. Hijack robots display their health and level above their heads, and he can't take damage while controlling them. Many plug-in chips don't affect hijacked enemies, especially health restoration ones. He can relinquish control by letting the robot die or manually self-destructing it. Hijacked robots inherit his hacking ability, and other robots won't attack unless attacked first. This means hacking a peaceful stubby lets you approach powerful enemies from the front for easier hacking. Hijacking another robot causes the original to self-destruct, and when a hijacked robot gets destroyed, he appears exactly where it was. Pod functions work similarly to other androids. Pod shots fire ranged weapons with missile launchers requiring lock-on, while upgraded pods cycle through phases with special release effects. Pod programs charge up for powerful attacks, with multiple pods creating enhanced effects at the cost of longer recharge times. Pod shots canceled charge programs, and programs failed if released while taking damage or during evade invincibility frames. His mobility matches other YoRHa units with some variations. Jump moves include mid-air evading and double jumping, with pod gripping to slow descent. Two special mid-air moves include a quick twirl for extra height and pressing light attack or hack while gripping the pod, and a pod slingshot maneuver by pressing jump and pod shot simultaneously in mid-air. These combinations are essential for reaching certain objects. Evading works the same as other androids, dashing in any direction with invincible frames, transitioning to sprinting when held, and enhanced by plugin chips. Perfect evades create hologram copies for counterattacks, with hacks seemingly performing a power hack that fills the hack bar faster. Counterattacks work through timing or plugin chips. Self-destruct deals damage equal to current HP, taunt enrages the enemy for 15 seconds, and finishers execute random attack animations on down enemies. The main plot sees him supporting 2B at the abandoned factory to eliminate their target. After helping her navigate the facility, she escapes without finding the target. He informs her about another facility across the bridge, noting it's unusual for command to get target locations wrong. She reveals they weren't wrong as Mark's type units attack. The fight escalates when he joins, only to get slammed off his flight by an emerging Engels unit. When Engels goes down, 2B finds him mortally wounded on top of it. He tells her to leave him and finish the mission, which she reluctantly does using his flight unit. After the target's destroyed, they reunite only to face 3 more Engel units, forcing them to detonate their black boxes with unknown fates. Multiple endings await depending on choices made. Endings A and B follow the same path as 2B's story. Ending C has A2 battling him, cutting off his arm, and hacking into his mind with Pod 042's help. Pod 042 warns that removing his corruption has slim chances, but A2 suggests she has a plan despite the pod's concerns about harming supported YoRHa units. After finding a slumbering version of him in the mental labyrinth, A2 tells Pod 042 to care for his body, while she destroys the tower. His body gets lifted away by Pod 042, and a post-credit scene shows 2B's sword embedded in a rock with his backpack hanging on it. Ending D sees him fighting A2 with severe malice, nearly overpowering her until she hesitates, remembering 2B's request. He impales her, but she stabs him as she falls, leaving him impaled on 2B's sword. Dying while trying to remove the sword, Pods 153 and 042 attempt evacuating his memories. He recounts his past and objectives, feeling lost over his functions before Adam beckons him to join their arc. Learning the Red Girls decided against ending humanity, he's given the choice to go with machine life forms. If he refuses, his final moment was him looking skyward saying he found where 2B was, before shutting down. Ending E follows the same path as 2B's story. Finally, ending G comes from neglecting missions at the beginning of New Game Plus. His last words express uncontrollable curiosity about machines and his decision to leave and study them freely. He was never heard from again, leaving his fate to imagination. YoRHa Type A Number 2. YoRHa Type A Number 2 is basically the android equivalent of a battle-scarred veteran who's seen too much and doesn't want to talk about it. She's the prototype that all the fancy newer models like 2B and 9S were based on, which makes her both legendary and tragically disposable in the eyes of YoRHa Command. While other androids chat and form bonds, A2 keeps her mouth shut and her distance from everyone else. 3 years before the main events of Nier Automata kicked off, A2 was part of the very first YoRHa squad sent down to Earth during something called the Pearl Harbor Descent. Back then, she went by the much simpler alias Number 2, and was basically thrown into the meat grinder of the 14th Machine War alongside her fellow prototypes. The mission went sideways in the worst possible way, leaving A2 as the sole survivor of her entire squadron. YoRHa Command, being the charming organization they are, immediately branded her a traitor and deserter because acknowledging her survival would blow the cover on their secret prototype program. So A2 found herself completely alone on a hostile planet, fueled by nothing but pure vengeance and a burning desire to destroy every machine and YoRHa unit unlucky enough to cross her path. Combat-wise, this playable android handles almost identically to 2B, but she's got some wicked twists that make her stand out. Her primary attacks are faster and chained together better, though they pack less punch per hit. The trade-off means she can build devastating combos if you know what you're doing. Her heavy attacks still hit like trucks and can be woven into light attack sequences for brutal finishing moves. She's also gotten some serious aerial game going on, staying airborne as long as her combos last and delivering crushing downward strikes that can flatten enemies beneath her. The pod system works the same way for A2, giving her ranged options and special programs that can be charged up for massive multi-pod attacks if you collected enough of the little floating helpers. She can also still do the fancy air movement tricks like gripping onto her pod to slow her descent, or using it as a slingshot to zip around the battlefield. Her evasion game is solid too, with invincibility frames that can be extended through upgrades and the ability to counterattack immediately after a perfect dodge. But A2's got one ability that makes her completely unique among the playable characters: Berserk mode. Instead of the self-destruct option that 2B and 9S have, A2 can activate this red tinged state that cranks her damage output through the roof while also making her take way more punishment. The catch is that it constantly drains her health down to a single hit point, so timing and health management become absolutely critical. The mode won't actually kill her even if she takes a fatal hit while Berserk, instead knocking her out of the state with just 1 HP remaining. When Berserk mode ends, she needs a moment to reboot, leaving her vulnerable but not dead. A2 also has this interesting taunt ability that goes beyond the standard pod light flashing. She can enrage enemies in a wide radius around her, making them deal more damage but also take more punishment in return. Taunted enemies get this distinctive orange-red glow and emit steam when the effect kicks in. The taunt lasts for 15 seconds and can be refreshed, though there's no visual indicator when you reset the timer. Her story integration into the main plot starts when 2B and 9S encounter her killing a machine called Emmanuel. Pod 153 immediately flags her as a wanted android recommended for termination, leading to a confrontation where she gets defeated but escapes after dropping some cryptic hints about Command being the real betrayer. She disappears for a while, doing her lone wolf thing in the background. A2 makes her dramatic comeback during one of the story's most devastating moments. When 2B gets corrupted and surrounded by hostile YoRHa androids, A2 swoops in and clears out the attackers. Realizing that 2B is beyond saving, she accepts the dying android's sword and memories in a heartbreaking scene where she has to mercy kill 2B while 9S watches in horror. A2 cuts her hair with 2B's sword, styling it to honor the fallen android, right before 9S has his complete mental breakdown and swears to kill her. The tower's emergence knocks A2 unconscious, and she wakes up with Pod 042 as her new companion, following 2B's final orders to assist her. A2 initially rejects the help, but eventually admits her goal is simply to destroy machines. This leads her to the desert, where she faces off against a massive Goliath-class machine called Hegel, hacking into its core and annihilating it completely. After dealing with practical concerns like replacing her sand clog filter, A2 reluctantly teams up with Pascal, the philosophical machine who runs a peaceful village. Despite her hatred for machines, she helps Pascal and his community, even going so far as to assist with their various requests. But everything goes wrong when Pascal's village receives a book on philosophy from Anemone. The knowledge drives some of the machines to cannibalism, turning the peaceful community into a nightmare of machines feeding on each other. A2 and Pascal manage to evacuate the surviving children to the abandoned factory, but their sanctuary becomes a trap when a machine army attacks. Pascal goes full berserker mode, commandeering an Engel's unit to wipe out the attacking forces. When they return to check on the children, they discover that all the young machines committed suicide out of fear of dying. Pascal, crushed by the guilt of teaching them the concept of fear, breaks down completely and begs A2 to either erase his memories or kill him outright. The climax brings A2 to the tower's God Box, where she saves 9S from a corrupted Operator 210 by impaling the hostile unit multiple times. She tries to deliver 2B's final message that 9S should remain a good person, but the mentally shattered scanned android loses it completely at the mention of 2B's name and attacks her. After 9S falls through the crumbling floor and A2 deals with Auguste and his pleading machine brothers, she makes her way up the tower alongside the wounded Devola and Popola. Inside a familiar library setting, A2 discovers a book titled Operational Summary of Model Number 2 in Project YoRHa that contains shocking revelations about her past. The discovery gets interrupted by Koshi infiltrating the library, leading to a running battle up an ascending elevator while 9S fights Roshi above. Both androids end up forced to work together against the merged Koshi and Roshi hybrid before their final confrontation. A2 reveals the tower's true purpose as a cannon aimed at the human server on the moon, threatening to destroy all remaining human data. 9S, completely unhinged by this point, counters with the devastating truth that humanity is already extinct, and the human server was just YoRHa's live to keep androids motivated. He explained how androids who discovered this truth were designed to be eliminated, making the commander himself and 2B all expendable pawns. The final gut punch comes when A2 reveals that 2B wasn't actually a battle unit at all, but a special execution unit designated 2E, specifically designed to kill YoRHa units like 9S over and over again. She tells 9S that 2B hated having to execute him repeatedly, which sends him into a final rage where he orders Pod 153 to stay silent until one of them dies. The game's climax forces players into an agonizing choice between playing as A2 or 9S for the final battle, and this decision determines which of the main endings you'll experience first. Both characters are completely broken at this point, locked in a deathmatch that feels more like a tragedy than a victory. Ending C happens when you choose to play as A2 for the final confrontation. She battles against 9S in what becomes a brutal fight between two androids who've lost everything they once cared about. Near the end of their clash, A2 manages to sever 9S's arm, and with Pod 042's help, hacks directly into his corrupted mind. Inside the digital labyrinth of his consciousness, she finds the real 9S sleeping peacefully, untouched by all the madness and hatred that consumed his surface thoughts. A2 tells Pod 042 to take care of the unconscious 9S while she handles one final task that she needs to complete alone. As Pod 042 carries away 9S's body, A2 walks towards a pillar of brilliant light, and the sound of children's laughter fills the air around her. She severs the tower's core functionality, causing the massive structure to begin its catastrophic collapse. In her final moments, as debris rained down around her, A2 looks up at the sky and remarks that she'd never realized how beautiful the world really was. She says she's coming to everyone, reaching her hands towards the heaven as the tower's destruction engulfs her completely. The credits roll over the aftermath, showing scattered debris across the landscape, and a lone moose standing vigil beside a makeshift memorial where 2B's sword and 9S's back pouch are impaled together on a rock. Ending D follows the same path as 9S's story and occurs when you choose 9S for the final battle instead. Like Ending C, this route also concludes with the tower's destruction, but the focus remains on 9S's perspective of the final confrontation and its aftermath. Ending E follows the same path as the other two androids' story, with the final scene showing A2 sitting on the edge of a building as a dove perches near her. In the anime, A2 doesn't pop up until episode 6, where she's part of a flashback Lily tells about the original YoRHa squad mission. Her proper entrance comes in episode 7, when she shows up and takes out the infant Force King, which immediately puts her at odds with 2B and 9S. While the game also explores her bond with Pascal and his village, the anime leans in harder on that emotional side. A2 slowly drops her guard around the machine kids, and you can really see her start to care about them. When the village falls and Pascal breaks down, the anime makes it hit way harder, especially with A2 getting dragged into the resistance camp's collapse too. That extra emotional weight adds a layer of tragedy that sticks. Since it's not a game, the anime obviously skips showing A2's Berserk mode and special gameplay mechanics, and it also trims down a few of her in-game moments, like her desert brawl with the Goliath Hegel, and some of her side encounters with machine factions. They cut those, probably to keep the pacing tight. Overall, A2 doesn't get the spotlight in the anime in the same way that she does in Route C of the game. Instead of making her the clear lead, the anime spreads its focus around more evenly. Her character arc is still there, but it unfolds slower and is built more through her connections to others, especially Pascal, Lily, and eventually 2B and 9S. Anemone. Anemone is the leader of the resistance camp. When Anemone first meets 2B at the resistance camp, she mistakes her for YoRHa number 2. She served during the 8th Machine War under the leadership of the then resistance leader Rose, and during the first major battle of the 14th Machine War, she encountered the YoRHa team led by A2 during the Pearl Harbor assault. The mission was to take out the machine server that was on the island. Despite the loss of most units during that mission, including Rose, Anemone and A2 managed to destroy the machine server and nullify the machine threat on Hawaii. Depressed from losing her close comrades, Anemone attempted to take her life before stopping herself. Anemone from then on became the new leader of the android resistance. In both ending A and B, Anemone survives Eve's attack on the resistance camp. Following the destruction of YoRHa in ending C, Anemone reunites with A2 after she spares Pascal while telling her about files regarding their last meeting. Ending D shows Anemone among those in the resistance camp that witnessed the machine arc fire into the sky. In the anime, she was killed in action during the events of Pearl Harbor descent, 4 years before the events of the first episode. Lily basically takes over the role that Anemone had in the game. Instead of Anemone surviving like she does in the original, the anime flips it. Lily lives, and Anemone is the one who doesn't make it. White. Commander White runs the entire YoRHa operation from her station at the bunker, floating around Earth's orbit. She calls all the shots, decides who goes where, and keeps tabs on every unit under her command. Years back, she made the call to send A2 and her squad on what everyone knows is basically a suicide mission to Hawaii. They needed to take out a machine server, and nobody expected any of those prototype androids to make it back alive. Plot twist, A2 actually survived, but that made Command suspicious. They figured if she lived when everyone else died, something fishy was going on. So A2 got labeled a traitor, which wasn't really fair considering that she did her job too well. White knew some heavy secrets that most YoRHa staff didn't. She was fully aware that humanity had been extinct since Project Gestalt went belly up, but she kept that information locked down for the sake of android morale. What she didn't know was that YoRHa black boxes were actually repurposed machine cores, and that there was a backdoor built into the bunker specifically to let the logic virus waltz right in. She also gave 2B some brutal orders. 2B was actually 2E, an executioner model, and White tasked her with babysitting 9S and killing him whenever he got too close to the truth about humanity. By the time Automata starts, 9S had already been executed 47 times. The factory explosion marked his 48th death. White had connections outside of YoRHa too, including Resistance member Jackass. When the logic virus finally hit the bunker in endings C and D, White tries to get 2B and 9S out safely, but she realized she was infected and chose to stay behind, ordering them to survive before the bunker exploded with her inside. Jackass mourned her death afterward. The anime revealed that she carried a light dagger weapon activated through her dress brooch. Operator 6-0. Operator 6-0 works communications at the bunker, stuck up there with all the other YoRHa operators. Her job involves relaying orders and intel to the androids down on Earth, but she makes it way more personal than it needs to be. While she looks almost identical to every other operator, she rocks these distinctive braids that set her apart from the crowd. She's assigned as 2B's operator and brings this bright, bubbly energy that's totally different from the usual military vibe. Sure, she can be scatterbrained and all over the place, but that just makes her more human somehow. Unlike Operator 21-0, who keeps things strictly business with 9S, 6-0 loves chatting with 2B about random stuff that has nothing to do with missions. Being trapped in the bunker means she's crazy curious about Earth life. She actually sends 2B on a side quest to snap photos of flowers down there. If you complete it by finding a desert rose in the desert, she gets genuinely excited about seeing something so simple yet beautiful. Between missions, she checks in with 2B regularly, but she's constantly getting sidetracked by human things, like horoscopes and other random interests. One time, she worked up the courage to ask another operator on a date, got shot down hard, and ended up calling 2B in tears just to vent about it. When the logic virus hits the bunker during Route C, everything goes to hell. As 2B and the others try to escape, they pass by 6-0's quarters. If you finish her flower quest earlier, there's this heartbreaking moment where the corrupted 6-0 actually thanks 2B for that desert rose photo before everything falls apart. She doesn't make it out alive. The logic virus outbreak claims her, along with most of the other YoRHa personnel in the bunker. Operator 21-0. Operator 21-0 also handles communications from the bunker, managing intel and orders for YoRHa units down on Earth. She's assigned to 9S, and couldn't be more different from her colleague 6-0. Where 6-0 is bubbly and chatty, 21-0 keeps things strictly professional with that cold, distant vibe. But underneath that icy exterior, she's hiding something pretty heartbreaking. She desperately wants to be part of a family. This comes out when 9S does side quests for her involving old world artifacts. Whenever he brings back items related to human family life, she shows genuine interest and fascination, dropping hints about what she's really longing for. During 9S's mission to take down the machine defenses at the start of the third cycle, she offers him a gift she left in her room if he fully disables the air defense systems by hacking that Goliath robot at the supermarket. After that mission, she goes radio silent for a long time. When 9S finally infiltrates the Godbox resource station, the truth comes out. 21-0 voluntarily converted herself into a B unit, becoming 21B for the massive YoRHa assault. But the logic virus screwed everything up, infecting her along with everyone else. The infected 21-0 ends up fighting 9S, and it's brutal. She's struggling against the virus, while pleading that she just wanted to be part of a family, finally admitting what those artifact quests were really about. She begs 9S to kill her, but A2 shows up and runs her through from behind, granting her wish to die while saving 9S. In the anime adaptation, she becomes 21B and merges with the infected network, nearly killing 9S before he heads to the meat box. With her last bit of consciousness, she impales herself with a YoRHa blade to shut down the network, praises 9S one final time, and transfers crucial tower data to him before dying. Either way, her death pushes 9S deeper into his mental breakdown. Jackass. Jackass fights with the android resistance against the machines and has this whole history with Commander White from YoRHa. When 2B and 9S first run into her, she warns them about sketchy stuff going down in the desert zone lately. After they meet Anemone at the resistance camp and head to the desert zone, they find her hanging out by this massive barrier. She introduces herself properly this time, and then casually whips out some dynamite and blows the whole thing to smithereens so they can get through. She throws in a warning about not trying to play hero while she's at it. Once 2B and 9S deal with Adam and Eve's birth, she gives them props for handling that mess. Later, she ropes them into helping her with her research project through a side quest called Jackass's Research. She wants combat data on androids and how fighting affects them, so she basically uses them as test subjects. After wrapping up her research, she creates this thing called E-Drug based on her findings. Then she gets even weirder and sends them a message about having a macro she wants to test on androids. She literally wants to see if eating fish will kill them and hands it over with a casual warning that she won't take responsibility if it actually does kill them. Eating that macro triggers joke ending K, so maybe don't. When YoRHa and the bunker get destroyed, she takes Commander White death pretty hard. After learning the truth about humanity being extinct since Project Gestalt failed and YoRHa's real purpose being to maintain that lie, she writes this intense report about how betrayed she feels. She swears to track down every android involved in the conspiracy and kill them all herself. In the anime, during a zombie virus outbreak at the resistance camp, she makes the ultimate sacrifice by detonating a bomb that creates a massive explosion, taking out herself and everyone around her, infected and healthy androids alike. Lily. Lily leads the resistance in the anime adaptation and has this rock-solid personality paired with genuine care for her friends. Her backstory goes way back to the 8th Machine War, over 200 years before the main events. She originally joined the resistance under Rose's command, but she wasn't a combat model. She was designed as a lover model and got assigned to the unit's commanding officer. That assignment turned into a nightmare. The officer physically abused and assaulted her regularly until Captain Rose had enough and nearly beat the guy to death. After that incident, Rose's entire unit said screw this and deserted from the squad together. Things get complicated when she gets infected by a logic virus, but number 21 manages to cure her. The leftover machine code from the infection doesn't just disappear though, it actually gives her this wild ability to create gravity wells, which is pretty intense for someone who wasn't originally built for combat. The game and anime handle her fate differently. In the game, she's implied to have died during the Pearl Harbor descent mission, but the anime keeps her alive and she ends up taking charge of the resistance camp. When she first encounters 2B, she makes the same mistake Anemone did in the game, confusing her for YoRHa number 2. Her leadership doesn't last forever though. As the story moves forward, she gets infected by a zombie virus that the children from Pascal village were carrying. A2 ends up being the one who kills her when she succumbs to the infection, putting an end to her suffering. Number 4. YoRHa Type A number 4 was part of that experimental YoRHa squadron they rolled out during the 14th Machine War. Despite being built for combat, she had this surprisingly bright and cheerful vibe that made her stand out from the usual stoic android soldiers. But don't let that bubbly personality fool you though. She was absolutely lethal when things got up close and personal. She specialized as an attacker type and knew her way around a sword like nobody's business. It's pretty wild how someone so upbeat could be so effective at slicing through enemies, but that combination of cheerfulness and combat skills made her a unique asset to the team. Number 16. YoRHa Type G number 16 was another member of that experimental YoRHa squadron from the 14th Machine War. She had this rough masculine personality that fit perfectly with her role as a gunner, picking off enemies from way back where they couldn't touch her. She wasn't exactly the obedient soldier type though. She had a serious rebellious streak and wouldn't hesitate to mouth off to her superiors when she felt like it. As a gunner model, she specialized in taking targets down from a distance, and apparently she was damn good at it. Her skills with ranged weapons made her valuable enough that they overlooked her tendency to challenge authority. Number 21. YoRHa Type S number 21 was also part of that experimental YoRHa squadron during the 14th Machine War. She had this cool analytical vibe that made her perfect for scanner duty, always thinking things through and keeping her emotions in check. Unlike the combat models, she wasn't built for fighting. Her specialty was gathering intel and breaking down information, basically serving as the brains of the operation while others handled the heavy lifting. In the anime version of events, things didn't end well for her during the Pearl Harbor descent mission. She got infected by a logic virus and didn't make it out alive. Rose. Rose ran the Resistance way back during the 8th Machine War, which went down over 200 years before the main Nier Automata story kicks off. She shows up in the manga YoRHa Pearl Harbor Descent Record, taking place about 4 years before everything we see in the game. 4S. 4S is a Type S scanner android you'll find hanging in the 4 zone during Route C when you pick up the Reconnaissance Squad quest. After the bunker got completely wrecked, he's been camping out at Forest Castle trying to keep things together. Even though YoRHa is basically finished, this guy is still doing his job like nothing happened. He's determined to keep collecting enemy data, but being on his own makes everything way harder than it used to be. That's where 9S comes in. 4S needs help gathering fresh intel on machine enemies and asks him to bring any new data back to the Forest Castle. You can only encounter him during Route C since the quest is specifically designed for 9S. If you try talking to him while playing as A2, he'll notice she's an older generation YoRHa android, but brushes it off as not being important right now. The quest is locked to 9S only, so A2 can't actually help him out with his data collection mission. 22B. 22B is one of those YoRHa units that decided she had enough and went AWOL. Command wasn't having any of that desertion nonsense, so they put out orders to bring her back in. Problem is, she wasn't planning on going quietly. When the time came to apprehend her, she fought like hell instead of surrendering. The resistance she put up was no joke, but ultimately it didn't save her. She got destroyed in the process. You'll only run into her during Route A as part of the YoRHa Betrayers quest alongside 8B and 64B. The whole thing is exclusive to 2B's storyline, so you won't be dealing with these deserter units when playing as other characters. Just another example of how things can go sideways when androids start questioning orders and deciding that they're done with the whole war effort. 8B. 8B is another target in the YoRHa Betrayers quest, but she's got some serious rank behind her. She used to be a captain before she decided to bail on her duties. This wasn't just any regular grunt-growing rogue. She had the skills to back up her rebellion. Her combat abilities were impressive, with expert handling of multiple weapon types and the ability to switch between them seamlessly mid-fight. All that training and experience made her a formidable opponent when Command ordered for her capture for desertion. Like other deserters, she wasn't going back without a fight. She put up fierce resistance when confronted, but ultimately got destroyed in the process. You encounter her during Route A as part of 2B's exclusive questline, alongside 22B and 64B. What makes finding her extra tricky is that she spawns randomly in one of 3 marked areas on the map, and only after you've already taken down her subordinates first, so you gotta clear out her underlings before she'll even show up for the main event. 64B. 64B is the third YoRHa deserter you'll need to track down in the YoRHa Betrayers quest. She rounds out the trio of rogue androids that Command once brought in for abandoning their post. You'll only encounter her during Route A as part of 2B's exclusive questline, fighting alongside the other deserters 8B and 22B. Like the others, she decided she's done with following orders and has gone off the grid, making her another target that needs to be dealt with. 2B's Descent Team. 1D, the Captain, 4B, 7E, 11B, and 12H. Background characters. 3S handles all the server admin duties up at the bunker, keeping the tech side of things running smoothly. 11S gets thrown into the thick of it during Route C, tasked with taking down machine defense systems when everything starts falling apart. 32S shows up and retrieved the confidential intel questline. 42S worked as a publicity agent at North 12C Defense HQ. 801S runs the maintenance shop at the bunker, handling repairs and equipment for all other units. 24D makes an appearance in episode 3 of the anime adaptation. 10S, 12B, and 14B appear in episode 14 of the anime alongside other units, and 3B appears in episode 15 of the anime series.